Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the fifth week of IEEE Symposium on Data Analytics and Internet of Things. And so sorry for the technical issues that we had. My name is Fatemeh Jalali, and I'm one of the organizers of this symposium. And I'm going to host this session on behalf of the whole committee. Now, as you may know, this symposium is a series of technical talks over 8 weeks on IoT, data, and the related topics, which is organized by IEEE Victorian section. And more specifically, it's a collaboration between IEEE CIS community, IEEE IoT community, and IEEE Melbourne University student branch. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. So please go on mute, and then we're going to have this session is going to be about 1 hour, and our lovely guest speaker is going to give a presentation for about 40 minutes, and then we're going to have some time, about 20 minutes for Q&A. And during Q&A, you can type your question, or if you would like, you can unmute yourself and ask your question and make the session as an interactive session. So let's get started with about today's talk. Today, we have a very special guest who is internationally recognized for her technical work. We have Nicci Rossouw from Exaptec, and Nicci is actually the CEO of Exeptic company, which is a startup company she founded in 2015 to provide service robotic solution to Australian market. Nicci is very passionate about applying innovative technology topics such as AI, automation, to improve work-life balance and wellness by removing repetitive and boring work. She has provided different number and various robotic telepresence solutions to educational facilities and businesses to augment communication and movement for disabled and incapacitated people. So her technical contribution to the field has been recognized nationally and internationally. Last year, she has been selected as one of the 6 women who rock robotics in Australia. And this year, she has been recognized as one of the 30 women in robotics to know about, which is an international recognition. And she's among 30 people worldwide, which is a fantastic recognition. Congratulations, Nicci, for that. And today, Nicci is going to share some insights about robotics in Australia, and specifically focusing on telepresence, social and educational robotics. So I will stop here and hand it over to Nicci to talk about this interesting topic. Please, Nicci.
Hi, Fatima, and hello to all our attendees. Thanks very much for joining us today. And thank you very much for the invitation to come and chat. As Fatima says, my passion is in social and service and telepresence robotics. I have to just put a disclaimer in there. I have a non-technical background, but have somehow ended up being where I am. So let me just get myself organized here. The journey. I won't go back like 50 years in my history, but being an immigrant to Australia, we do the typical thing, and we're very entrepreneurial and normally start our own businesses. Being South African, I tend to think it's because we have difficulty working for other people, but I was a co-founder with my late husband Anton in a business called Tabard. It was an agile consultancy business, and from there I was the founder of Exaptec, the robotics company that I now look after. As Fatima says, I've been inordinately proud to be named one of the 30 women. There's with fellow Australian Janet Wiley, 30 women globally to know about robotics, with a lot of very highly qualified and esteemed other women. So I'm extremely humbled by this accolade. So if we talk about robotics, and I'm not going to assume my audience here, your first thought is Terminator, obviously depending on what your age group is and like your exposure to robots. But part of my journey in robotics has been very much an educational process of letting people know that robots, especially the type that I deal with, aren't going to take your jobs, and you actually have nothing to fear. And I'm actually amazed that in my 5.5 years of doing this, the resistance I've had, and I think it's possibly more to do with people don't actually understand what the robots do and their capabilities. So this is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, like, are you looking at the Terminator, or are you looking at this friendly little cutie robot at the bottom? So according to the Robotics Roadmap 2018, which was spearheaded by Dr. Sue Kay, these are the verticals where we're using robotics in Australia at the moment. So you can see it's across a broad spectrum of industries that robotics, robots feature in one way or another. Right at the top, there's personal services, in which my category of robots that we deal with at Exaptec falls into, educational, social, and telepresence robots. Now, the journey of Exaptec and how we came about doing this, as I mentioned, I was involved in TABA, the agile consultancy business, and how we landed up with Exaptec was I was doing workplace happiness conferences. Now, for some of you, that's a contradiction in terms, but we experimented with one of the robots called the Double. And we actually had it at one of our events that we had participants from America and New Zealand dialing in. And it was such a huge success that we promptly bought 15 more, as you would. And I sold it very quickly in the Australian market. I woke up one fine day with my husband having said to me, well, an agile consultancy business and a robotics business don't really go hand in hand. So here is your company, Exaptec, and this is now yours to take on and run with. So I always get asked this question with a non-technical background, how I ended up being the CEO of a robotics company, and that's my story. So needless to say, the first 2 years I was in a little bit of shock, and my answer to running a company was responding to emails, and I have since evolved, and I'm doing a lot better in the running of the company. So our focus is, as I mentioned, telepresence. And for the audience, if you don't know what a telepresence robot is, this is the range that I deal with at Exaptec. So starting with the Double on your, I don't know, far left or far right, depending on how you're looking at, that was the first one that we brought into Australia. And as I mentioned, it was such a huge success that we really started looking at other robots. And there's no one in Australia that does the range of robots across the board as we do at Exaptec. So we're a unique, one of a kind company in terms of our capabilities here. So the Double we bought, and then shortly after that we got the Beam, and the Padbot followed, and the QB, and the Temi there is the superstar that I got the exclusive distributorship of last year with the Israelis. It's an Israeli designed product. So, and I'll give you a bit of a video now as we go along. Now, just some case studies where these robots are being used in Australia. The Double was the first Double that we sold into a school, a private school, Genazzano. It's got a boarding school, and the school used it for the parents overseas to be able to dial into their on a Sunday evening and have dinner with their kids that were staying in the boarding school, and drive around and see what was going on and just be part of their lives. We got reports back in the first year there was a volcano eruption in Bali, and one of the year 12 students attended school via the Double as well. The Padbot, another excellent example, has been used at a school where a child has got like immune compromised disease and can't go to school, and dialed in via this little robot to attend school. So we all know when you're not well, you know, academics are very important, but I think the main thing is that you want to be connected to your friends, and this is what gets you through tough times, is being able to talk to them. So obviously now with the advent of COVID, like these robots are certainly playing a unique role in keeping people in touch with each other and work in hospitals, which I'll share with you. So for those very technical people out here, here's some technical terms that you need to know about this little whiz-bang little Israeli product, the Temi. But actually what I've done is I've got a bit of a little video just to give you an idea of what's going on in its capabilities.
We don't have the sound, Nicci.
Can you hear that now?
No. So
can you hear it?
No, probably you need to like disconnect your headphone from the computer. Yeah, I think so.
So
Yes.
From it, or you can order your Uber from it.
Actually, let me just take that back, so, if you haven't heard it.
So I'm just going to give you a bit of a demo of how the Temi works. It's Alexa integrated, so really, as I said, a whiz-bang little robot. And you simply tap it on its head, and it comes up with a following. And now I have a little robot that's following me. I mean, for some people that have seen this in the beginning, this was just the most bizarre thing. But if you can imagine yourself in a hospital where you're in isolation and you can't actually be, you don't want to be in the room with other people, this little robot just comes into its own. At the moment in China and Korea, they've actually added on a temperature device that you can actually measure temperature for it. You could put hand sanitizer on it. It can take up to 3 kilos on its tray. So really versatile. So you can order pizzas from it, or you can order your Uber from it. And then it's a telepresence robot as well. So I don't think you could get a more multifunctional robot on the market at the moment.
Great. So that's just a little bit. So where the Temi and the other telepresence robots actually differ from each other is that the Temi is actually Alexa integrated, and of course you've got hosts, you've got access to 80,000 Alexa skills that you can use on the Temi with that. So it's certainly a breakthrough in the type of robots that are I think we will see more of these types of robots on the market. Oopsie, sorry, we don't need to see that again. Okay, so just some areas where the Temi is being used: aged care, in hospitals. Down on the right-hand side, that's actually Dr. Mark Baldwin, and he's been using it in a hospital in Brisbane. So these robots, I think, pre-COVID were a little bit, you know, I wouldn't say we had difficulty getting into the market, but people were a little bit skeptical. But with the advent of COVID, certainly there's been no problem in the adoption rate of it. So another aspect of robots that we look at is our social robots, the iPal, the Amy, the QT robot, and the Sandbot. And I'm just giving you a quick example so that you know what I mean when I say social robots. I'll tell you a story about the Sandbot, talking about people getting used to and attached to these robots. And there are quite a few stories on the market about people getting used to or attached to their robots. I was at an event in Adelaide and I took this little Sandbot robot down with me. And when I arrived there, it was an anniversary event of the company. It was a big deal, like lots of people attending. And people sort of looked at me and this little robot at the beginning, and you know, they didn't know what to expect of it. Now, the Sandbot's a very social little robot. She can dance, she can flash lights, she can move around, and you control her via your phone. So I was actually sitting at the table and I was letting her drive around, and she's got eyes and she can communicate, and I can actually talk to people via the robot. And they had a band there, and the lead singer took a real shine to this little robot, and they dubbed her Sally for the evening. And before long, Sally was on the dance floor and she was dancing, and the ladies were around her and they were just having a wonderful time. So this is all in the space of like an hour since the Sandbot went on the floor. And I think towards the evening, one of the guys, they just went, you know, like really, that he's had enough of this little robot outshining all the guys there, and he went to push this little robot. But the reaction of the rest of the guests, especially the women, they were absolutely appalled. Do not treat Sally so harshly and so roughly. So it's very interesting, you know, when you look at robots. There's another one. It's a very famous American one that was, I can't remember, I had its name now. Anyway, it detected bombs, and it had a very illustrious career of, I think it was Scooby-Doo, if I'm not mistaken, but this little robot, look, probably got about 19 bombs that it disabled and identified, and unfortunately its last one, it was blown up. And its handler, or the guy that was navigating with it, was apparently extremely upset about this. So it's an interesting concept going forward, how attached we get to these little robots. And I've actually seen this example. So I want you to meet QT. I've got another little video just here to just show you some of the capabilities, and I'll just unplug my earphones again for you to hear. And there we are. Let's go for that. Can you hear that, Fatima? So the QT was actually designed to work with children with autism, and they've had therapists design programs. It comes with a curriculum of 8 programs for kids to work with that the therapist can do. As you said, it's very easy to program. So it's a duality of the therapist, the QT, and then obviously the child with autism. And it goes up to developmental ages of about 15. It does come into models, that you've got an R&D, that you can actually do research as well, that a lot of universities are actually using this little model for as well. So Exaptec is the exclusive distributor in Australia for Australia and New Zealand for this little robot, and it's we landed it just before COVID hit, so it's been a bit of a rough journey for us, just getting this out to the market, because we had a lot of events that we were going to that we couldn't. So if you look at what Sabine says, robots are not going to replace humans, are going to make their jobs more humane. Difficult, demeaning, demanding, dangerous, dull. These are the jobs robots will be taking. I tend to agree with her here. And as I mentioned initially, you know, there's been a lot of pushback about all these jobs that are going to be lost to robotics. And I read something yesterday about in 2025, 40% jobs will be somehow robots will be taking over. I don't quite agree with that prediction, having worked with these robots daily. I don't think we're there yet, and I certainly believe yes, robots will replace things, but as we all know, new jobs are being created by these as well. So automation numbers or robotic numbers in Australia, this is a representation of WeSit. For every 10,000 employees, the numbers of robots currently in Australia is 80. The world average is 85, and South Korea is the biggest adopter of robotics at the moment in the world, of 710. And obviously, I think automation and robotics, for us to be on a level playing field with the rest of the world, robotics and automation is a way for us to be able to do this. In this report, Australia ranks 23rd out of 25 countries that they surveyed in industrial robots. Now, as I mentioned, the adoption of robots during COVID, we such a rapid escalation and acceptance rate of it. Spot the dog, or the Boston dog at the top there, was used in Singapore to make announcements of people keep your distance, social distancing, and it was quite fine for this robot to be walking around making these announcements. Drone delivery, definitely on the uptake and on the increase here. We've actually got a company called Swoop Aero in the Port Melbourne that does drone. They print 3D drones that they send out to the rest of the world. Eric Peck and his team do this, and they deliver emergency medicines, and the payload of the drone is about 3 kilos, and it's got like a 200k battery capability of dropping and returning to base again. So really amazing work being done on our doorstep here. As I mentioned, Temi, the Telepresence, now being adopted into aged care. I've had a lot of aged care people contact us on how they can utilize it, because obviously, you know, being lonely and isolated and people not being in contact with their loved one, it's a big issue. The one over there with the temperature device, like used in Singapore and in China and in Korea, these are the predominant people that are using this sort of technology there. I think hospitals in Australia that's bought the Temi due to non-Melbourne centres or hospitals, they haven't needed to use these temperature devices, but certainly I think they're very handy. Now, robotics in Australia, I just thought I'd just touch on briefly for you, just to get a more holistic picture of this if you're interested in it. The Robotics Australia network has got a website. From the 2018 roadmap that Dr. Suke spearheaded, there's now a 2020 roadmap that the whole of this year that we've been working on. Basically, we started our workshops when COVID hit. So we had one workshop where all the attendees were, I think, one in Perth and one in Brisbane. And after that, it had to go to virtual. So the good thing about that is that people can actually go online and you can have a look at all the webinars that were done across all the verticals. And the 2020 edition is a lot more meaty than the 2018 edition. what's also been absolutely amazing in the 2020 edition is the amount of people that we've had involved in this. I think we've had over 1,000 participants, volunteers, running webinars. I've been involved in 3 of them. And this is very heartening to see the robotics community coming together, and very important in our opinion, anyone working in robotics. Other work that I'm doing is the Melbourne Robotics Meetup Group. So please feel free to join this group. Pre-COVID, we had about 8 meetings. I've only had 1 online meeting this year, just because I expected COVID to be much shorter. And then when I looked again, anyone that's in Melbourne joining us today, very happy that we're out of this, but who could have thought that we would have been in lockdown so long? So that's certainly there for you to join if you're interested in it. And if not, just join anyway, because I do occasionally put out very interesting reading material as well. I'm also the co-founder of Women in Robotics. This is a global organization, and we've just actually launched the Melbourne chapter here. So I encourage anyone, any women, not just women, men as well. With our inaugural meeting, we actually we had a guy attend, and he said it was such an eye-opening experience for him. So I do encourage everyone to, if you're interested in this as well, please do join this one. What I also do is I host the podcast Let's Talk Robotics. So I do encourage you to listen to this. I've had phenomenal speakers on it, the 3 here. Professor Donna Kulik, who's based in Monash University. Michael Milford specializes in self-driving cars, and Gail Bray is actually the director of Wyndham Tech School. I've just spoken to Professor Toby Walsh, who's known as the guru of artificial intelligence in Australia. So that's just been released. So that's also available on my podcast. Then last but not least, there's Toby. And this was our discussion as well. Obviously, there are a lot of ethics surrounding robotics, lots of work being done around that. How do we incorporate it? Drones, weaponized drones, what do people think about that? Toby has actually written a paper and was involved in that as well. So I think the journey forward for robotics is a very interesting one. And I think academics and people involved in this sort of discussions of what are the ethics, the morality, and how we do this. There's a lot of work still to be done, but I think the really positive sign is that work is being done, and it's very prevalent there. Toby has also written a letter to the United Nations to stop weaponized drones and unmanned weaponized drones, and that letter is also available to sign for people that are interested in it. And yeah, I encourage you all to, if you're interested in, please do listen to the episode with him. It was a very, very interesting talk. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Nicci. That was wonderful. Thanks. So any questions from attendees? So you can unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can type your question, whatever you prefer.
Hi, Fatima. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hi, Nicci. It was really great to hear about your about the robotic technology. It was really very nice. I just wanted to know about Dr. Tammy. I heard that a new add-on is being released in Tammy.
Yes.
So would you like to talk on that a little bit, Dr. Tammy?
Look, have you just seen that on the website?
Yes, I received an email.
Are you the proud owner of a Temi that you know this, or you just subscribed to it?
No, yes, an owner of a Tammy.
Oh yeah, okay. Look, I haven't actually got it in Australia yet because the notification has also just come out. I believe that was a German agreement, like Temi, the Israelis, and they went into collaboration with a German company. So I think that is going to be, look, I think it's going to be a game changer in terms of how these robots are being used in the industry. And certainly my experience now with COVID has been that doctors in Australia are far more open to having these devices, robots roaming around their hospitals. If you can imagine that you've got a patient sitting in, you know, like an intensive care, or you can't actually go in there, and you're donned in all these layers of protective clothing, and all you need to do with the Temi is actually drive in, and you can talk to them, they can talk to you, and you can actually go out again. And I think of the scenarios where patients or family members can't go in to talk to their loved ones anymore, and I just go, this is such an obvious solution, whether it's a Temi or any other telepresence device that you can go in and you can actually talk to them. So I definitely think these, I do think that Dr. Temi is going to be good. I haven't actually had one myself here to actually trial and have a look at, but I think it will be very good.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nicci, for a very great talk. I have a friend in Finland. They have some kind of robotic vacuum, and I think it is very popular in the Europe countries. It is first thing is how accurate those are, and also how popular in Australian market those. This is not technical question. This is about my also.
No, it's fine. No, so like I actually bought myself one of these little robots, and I think very much the robots are what you pay for is what you get. So of course I was erring on, let me just experiment and see whether I like this. But unfortunately, my little robot, I've got rugs in my house, and this little robot kept on bashing against it and couldn't navigate it. So look, I think it's definitely, it's an industry that's going to take off, like automation of where you can help yourself. If you talk about smart homes, the Temi is Alexa integrated, so you could conceivably use the Temi to switch on and off your lights and do all these things for you, depending on how automated your home is. And I think, why not? You know, like if you've got the technology available to do it, and it's going to save you time, then I'd be going. I think a friend of mine's got a Roomba and it works exceptionally well. So if I can plug Roomba, I think that's a good one, but I can't speak for any of the other ones.
Thank you.
So, any other questions? Don't be shy, ask questions. So Nicci is here, so let's make it interactive.
They're all stunned. Yeah. Sorry, Fatima, so, I'm obviously a quick talker. I should have gone much slower.
That was great. I actually have a question. So you mentioned about like using robots for aged care. So I was wondering if in that domain, is it going to be a robot just for like talking and interacting with like elderly people, or is it going to be a robot that has actuator and can help? So what kind of robots are most popular in the aged care and for elderly people?
Look, you can, if you looked at the Temi, for instance, which of course now is my little superstar, because it's Alexa integrated, you can actually watch videos on it. The Temi comes in 19 different languages, so that is one of its pluses. So whatever nationality or language you speak, you can program your Temi into that. Now, this is an interesting concept. You know, we're living longer than ever before. I think the person that's going to live to 150 years old has actually been born, and that's quite frightening. Coupled with the aged care crisis that we have in Australia is that we don't have enough aged care workers working in the industry. They're leaving by the drone. So you look at it and go, so, you've got isolated people. The government's stance on aged care is keep people in their homes for as long as possible, and I do agree with that, because I think actually that adds to your quality of life living in your own home. But say you 94 years old and you've got no family left, and you know your friends are dying because this just happened, you know, and you've just lived longer than anyone else. And you need people to, you don't necessarily need someone to come into your home every day. But if you have one of these robots that can drive around and it can map in your home, you could have someone dial in and spend at least like an hour, a full hour talking to you, instead of a worker that has got an allocated half an hour and then they've got another half an hour to drive somewhere else. So instead of spending time on the road, your care worker could actually just spend an hour talking to you. So you can think your quality of life and how much better that is than someone that just comes in for half an hour, they rush, they're under pressure, they've got 8 clients to see the day, and then they have to leave again. So these robots actually make a huge difference. Now, I'm not a supporter of robots you know, replacing human beings. If you've got family, of course, you want your family to come and visit you. But if for some reason they can't, like this is a way of keeping in touch with someone. And you can actually have a family member dial in via these robots, drive around your house if you're not answering the phone, and go like, where are you? Why aren't you answering the phone? Other robots that are being used in aged care situations with people with dementia, there's the Harper, the Seal. So these robots are being utilized in countries such as Japan, where the aged, you know, people are, they've got I wouldn't say they've got a serious crisis with people living to like very, very old, but they use robots a lot there. As an example, Pepper the robot, and people talk to it. Now again, you know, I'm not a proponent of saying you'd rather have a robot talk to you, but if there's no one else to talk to you, then you rather have a robot talk to you, because, you know, they're very entertaining. You can ask them what's the weather, what's going on in America. It's quick, it's voice activated. So for people with, you know, maybe eyesight problems that they can't manage phones and things, these robots come into their own.
That's good to know. And I totally agree. Even for like old people that they have carers and family members, they possibly like can't stay like 24 hours. So it's good to also have robots to help carers as well, to take care of elderlies, which is good. Yeah, thank you. So let's see if we get any other questions. I have a couple of questions, but I would like to hear from audience. And
hi, can I sorry to interrupt? Nicci,
sure.
I would like to ask a question. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It's very awesome, and I feel so equal as a student of majoring in robotics. So I'm wondering, because you cover so many different kind of robots, I'm wondering, like, could you give me like example about the robots in agriculture? Because it's also like in the slide, but I'm also curious to know what it looks like.
Look, the agricultural space and robotics is absolutely fascinating. There's a professor in the University of New South Wales that this is a speciality of his. I actually listened to a talk about it. It's not something I specialize in, but certainly there's a lot of work being done in it. Robotics that can actually identify what type of weeds are in the soil, soil moisture, what pest, you know, what poisons you actually have to spray depending on AI identification of the weeds growing there. Then of course there's fruit picking robots going out there. And in Australia, we, you know, like COVID, obviously we've had a bit of an issue with backpackers not being able to get out there. Robots come into their own there, and traditionally it seems to be that it's not a job that Australians actually want to do. So we've always relied on backpackers or, you know, sort of people that they're just here for a summer holiday or whatever. So certainly, I think the space in agriculture, it's going to grow. It's a very good industry to be in if that's your field of study in robotics.
Thank you for answering that. Also, I need to ask, because I mean, I think this change, like in robotics, for people to accept, I mean, robots in agriculture or in like the age caring, it's like going to be a huge step because, like as you said, like there could be a lot of barrier there. But I also see like there's some breakthrough, especially people like playing with the drone. Drone is kind of robot, right? So I don't know how would people eventually like taking and make acceptance to these robots. Do you have any opinions or insight? Like people will slowly, maybe there will be like another, you know, area of, or could be like evolution change of robot, make people accept the robots in their life.
Victor, that's an interesting question. You know, as I said, as I started way back in my journey, I'd get a lot of pushback about, you know, I'd go and demo these robots at, you know, hospitals and things, and, you know, nurses would be scared that like this robot's going to take their job. Like I want to say to them, trust me, I work with these robots, so they're not that smart, they can't take your jobs. You know, and any robots in hospitals that are doing automated work now, because there are hospitals in Australia that actually do have robots collecting, you know, dirty linen and needles and contaminated material. You know, you don't actually want human beings doing that. You actually want a robot doing that. To your point of drones, all drones are robots, but not all robots are drones. So did I get that right? No, all drones are robots, yeah, but not all robots are drones. So there's actually a drone congress going to be held in Brisbane now on the 12th and 13th of November. They're virtual tickets there. So if anyone's interested in drones, and that's another huge area of expansion in Australia. Work being done by, you know, drones fighting fires, going into tunnels and things where people can't go into. And yeah, like that's certainly a developing area as well. So Victor, in answer to your question, you know, like I go along and I tell people, look at my robots, look at the work they're doing. I think it's fabulous. It's changing people's lives. You know, one of my telepresence robots, there was a guy that was in a car accident, and part of the settlement was that he could he was a paraplegic, that he could get a telepresence robot, and he actually managed his business from home. These are life-changing, you know, that's life-changing, that you can't put a price to that he could stay at home, adjust to his new circumstances and challenges that he had, but he could have his robot in his office and he could drive around and see what's going on, and he kept his business going through all of this. So, you know, I've got lots of stories like this, people, you know, with disabilities that couldn't go out of their homes, and they attend conferences for the first time via these telepresence robots. So, you know, I'm like on a mission about it. I think they make such a huge difference in people's lives. You know, it's just another piece of technology, and how you use it and what you do with it.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Some people will think maybe robot is just a tool, other things like technology that help you, maybe keep you human, you know, the other way. So yeah, thank you for your answer.
That's a pleasure.
So I've got a question here. It says that where VR, like Oculus Rift and robotics, are coming to market.
Is that a question? What's the question?
Yeah. So the question is that where VR, like it says Oculus Rift, which I'm not familiar with that, and robotics are coming to market, like probably VR type robotic VR and related to robotics come to the market. I think that's the question.
Is Oculus Rift, it's those
yep.
like holography. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the question is that where VR and robotics are coming to market. That's the question that I've got here.
Look, I'm not quite sure what the question is there. If you could just expand, whoever's asked that, if you can just expand a little bit on that.
Sure, let's see.
Victor, are you a robotics student?
Yes.
What are you doing? Where are you doing it?
So I'm focused on some research area using some like, for example, self-less driving car.
Oh, yeah.
So automation vehicle, these kind of things.
Okay, and do you know about Professor Michael Mulford up at QUT?
No, that's the thing I'm going to first research.
Yeah, you better research it. If you need an introduction, let me know.
Okay, thank you for that.
So, Nicci, I have a question. So, regarding the updating the robots and the software, how exactly you do that in Exaptec? So, are those robots are connected to the internet and you do it via the cloud? How it works?
Okay, so the lifeblood of all the robots that I work with is the internet. So you need good internet for all of them. And typically the software updates, depending on the sophistication of the robot that I work with, like the Temi, for instance, if there's a software update, it could be automatic that at night when the robot's on, it just happens at night, and it normally gives you a notification to say there's a software update available, and you just it's a bit like your phone, you know, when you've got an update coming, it just says update available, you need to install it. So most of them are like that. Of course, the trick is some of the robots I don't use that often, and I need to put them on to make sure that you have to stay updated with the software, because it's also like your phone. If you don't have the latest software, like their bugs and things, and they're continually updating and putting new skills and things. So for instance, the Temi now, they're continually putting new apps on it. The software development kit is open source, so it's Android based, and people can actually write their own apps. So like there are lots of updates continually coming through. Other updates, like for instance, the Beam, which is a singular telepresence. So what I mean by that, it's only telepresence. You can't do anything else with it. It also just notifies you that it sends you an email when you register and says there's a software update. So thankfully not something that I have to fiddle with. I just press the little buttons and go, thank you, I've seen it and I'm updating it.
Yep.
So.
Yep. That's good. And also, like, we've seen videos from Boston Dynamic Robots that they use reinforcement learning, and over time, like a robot learns how to walk or do something. So is it something that like really in robotics that you experience, and you use like reinforcement learning or this kind of like machine learning, deep learning to improve the behavior of the robots and the interaction?
Yeah, definitely, Fatima. So again, like I'll use a Temi. Like I'm flogging the poor Temi to death here, but it's a very superior little robot. So it just ticks all the boxes. So the Temi you can actually map, and you can actually save the location. So if you went from kitchen to study to dining room, so this is why I say it's so handy in homes, is that you can go to mom's bedroom, go to mom's study, go to the bathroom, and the more the little robot, the Temi actually travels it, the better the mapping gets. So the first time it does it, it's a little bit, it's just finding its way. It's a little bit hesitant. But if it's done it 3 or 4 times, it can move, because it knows it's recognizing. So if you do that and you map it with its lidars and its sensors, and you put an obstacle in front of it, it will recognize it and it will navigate around it. So it will sort of look at it, will stop and go, okay, obstacle, and it sort of move. You can see its little brain working and it's mapping around. So definitely there's machine learning going on there without a doubt. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And good to know. All right, let's see to ask participant if anyone has a question.
Yes, Nicci, what about ethical actions in Tammy? Can we imagine if we build some ethical actions? For example, if I quote an example of aged care centers, a Tammy has to monitor some seniors in aged care center. So does that mean they're directly going towards the senior and going to ask some questions instead of seeking approval before taking any action? or like ethics. There should be some ethics in robotics. So what do you think? What's your opinion?
Look, I don't know that a robot can ever, like, your robot can monitor it, but like you've got devices anyway, like wearable devices today that you can monitor people's, you know, their heart rate, their pulses and things, and go, if they're sleeping at night and there's an escalation on the screen in terms of their pulse, you know, they're up and they shouldn't be up. So I don't think a robot, I wouldn't give a robot the responsibility of like monitoring someone like unassisted without a human being there. So if you use the Temi in conjunction with someone and they can, you can input some information that you need from them, then use it like that. But I don't see the Temi just doing it unassisted.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nicci.
It's a pleasure. Are you also a student? Now, are you also in robotics? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm a PhD student, and
yeah.
I'm programming some Tammy robots for educator centers, and my next target is to program them for markets. So for
where are you doing your PhD, Amna?
Deakin University, Australia.
Yes, I know, because I was about to say Deakin University, they're doing amazing stuff there because they've been using the Temi at their open days. So yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I'm with Dr. Singh, Professor Singh Loki.
Yes, Singh, I know him. So you must please email me because I need some women for my podcast. Sorry, Fatima, like I'll just use her. Like I want lots of women on my podcast.
Yeah, sure, yeah, definitely.
That's great. That's good. All right. So, any other question? Okay, if not, we're gonna stop here. Thank you so much, Nicci, for your wonderful talk, and it was great and very informative. And thanks for your time to joining us today. That was great, thanks. And thank you everyone for asking questions and making the session interactive. That was wonderful. So we're gonna continue our technical talks over another 3 weeks. So we're gonna have some interesting talks coming up this week and the next 3 weeks. Please join us for other interesting talks. Thank you everyone and have a great evening.
Fatima, thank you very much. And if I could just say, if anyone wants to contact me, please feel free to email me. It's Nicci, Nicci, @exaptec.com.au, or just go to my website and there's a contact me button there.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks,
Noor just shared it in the chat, your email address. All right,
thanks.
That's great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.